Back to the program, Festus Osifo, Comrade Festus Osifo. That's what you call labor, labor people, comrade. He's the president of TUC and Pengerson. He joins me here at the table. Welcome to you, comrade, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for having me, and good
Now,
morning, Nigerians.
Let's get started. I know you were listening to the interview, the last interview, and I asked for one advice for you. And Mr. Johnson Chukwu did say that labor should ask for an increment. Is that possible?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Let me also join your earlier guest as well, Johnson Chukwu, to say the death of Aliego Dokpesi High Chief came to us as a very huge shock and a huge surprise. And this was one man that brought broadcasting to where it is today in Nigeria. We could call him the doyen of broadcasting in Nigeria and in Africa, indeed. So on behalf of Pengerson and on behalf of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, we extend our condolence to the entire AIT family. Yeah, so going straight to what you have asked. Yeah, for us, yes, on paper, it's very easy that you could say you pay 30,000 naira minimum wage today, so you could move it to about 50 or 80,000 naira. But there are issues around that. Number one, as of today, over 40% of the states today are not paying even the 30,000 naira minimum wage. A lot of states are paying some are even paying less than 18,000 naira. So that is the challenge that we have today. Most of these states, they have been picketed. We have had strikes in most of these states for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. The labor movement in each of these states, they have actually done several proposals to the state government, but they are clearly irresponsive. So that is the challenge that labor have. So you could sit down and say, okay, let us increase minimum wage again to about 80,000. The people that could not pay 30,000 are now those that will not be willing to pay 80,000. So it's a challenge. If you keep that aside, you also look at it. In labor, we have the private sector and the public sector. Okay, now, but you have more employees in the private sector than the public sector. So what are the things you are also going to use to address that? When you increase minimum wage, we majorly talk about the government, federal government and state government. So how do you address the private sector? Then more so, Nancy, we have a lot of Nigerians that are unemployed. Better half of our youths today are unemployed. So, but these people, they go about from one point to another. How do you also address that? So when you increase minimum wage, you are looking at a section of the workforce. Yes, we understand that if you have 2 million people today, for example, in the public sector, there could be also a multiplier effect. We understand that. But if you look at it aggregately, it is something that alone will not be able to assuage the difficulty. Yeah, I just want to use the opportunity as well because what Johnson said earlier was that when you remove subsidy, the government is going to have more money.
Yes.
But we have also tried to look at that. We have done some fact check on that. If you recall, NNPC came out, and NNPC told us that since a better part of 2021, that they have not been remitting money to the Federation account. Before NNPC stopped remitting money to the Federation account, we had an average of about 600 to 700 billion naira being shared at FAC. So when NNPC was remitting. But when NNPC now stopped using the money to service debt, they were still sharing average. It came down slightly, but the average was not too much. So the question that we asked them was, where was government getting this money from? Because from the internal generated revenue and other sources, it did not go up astronomically. So when it was until CBN came out and said the federal government is owing them about 22 trillion. We now said, okay, this is actually it. So the financing of the FAC has been through ways and means.
What you're saying is that the ways and means was also added because financing to FAC also included both non-oil revenue and all that.
Exactly.
So the CBN ways and means augmented
the reduction that was associated with the NNPC not remitting to FAC. So today, what that means is that let's assume that the CBN was putting in about 300 billion from the ways and means in order to shore up what FAC was sharing at the end of the month. If CBN stops that now, what will now happen is that if you now bring in the money you will save from subsidy, it will be almost equivalent. So there is really nothing that will happen astronomically.
To increase salaries.
To increase it. So that means the 1.2 trillion that Chuku talked about, it will not get up to that. It will be somewhere around 700 to 800 billion naira. So most of these governors, like we have said, government is not a tea party. As a governor, as a president of a country, you must put on your thinking cap. You must be able to, it's not you just wait for allocation at the end of the month, then if you don't, anyone you don't have, you go to a bank and borrow. That is a lazy man approach to governance. We must take it a step higher. Government involves critical thinking, and they must put on their thinking cap. So for us, that alone will not solve the problem because they won't have capacity to pay if the current trend continues the way it is in the country.
For me, what I'm also struggling with, since fuel subsidy, petrol subsidy now technically has been removed. Labour, you and your colleagues did say that you were ambushed. That was it on Tuesday or Wednesday after your meeting with federal government?
Yes, you know, the meeting of Wednesday.
Yes, the meeting of Wednesday. You all said that you were ambushed. But when we saw the new price template from the NNPC, what I'm struggling with really now is that how can the NNPC fix price in different parts of the country when you say now that petrol subsidy is off? Are they fixing, what explanation did they give you? Are they fixing, I don't know why they are still fixing it.
I know.
Are they fixing it for a short period of time, bearing in mind when all marketers will come into the foray and start perhaps also importing, bearing in mind when Dangote refinery also starts supplying to the market? Why did they, what was their explanation?
Yeah, so their explanation was that as NNPC, that they have, as of today, they control about 25 to 28% of the market because recently they acquired OVH. That's so with the NNPC retail that controls more than 25% of the market, that was an advisory to NNPC retail. It's an advisory to their subsidiary, to their own stations, that this is how it should be based on the cost. The landing cost and all other associated costs today, that it wasn't for everybody to fix the price, but it was an advisory to them. But what we said, the reason we said that it was an ambush was that on Tuesday, we were invited to have a meeting on Wednesday. So our expectation was that let's come to that meeting with an open mind. Let's come to that meeting, let's have a conversation on the way forward. But we were invited late on Tuesday. By 8 a.m. on Wednesday, we saw the new pricing template. So we now got to, so that actually detected the mood of that meeting. Because we got there, we said, but why didn't you just wait for us to have this conversation? Do you even know if we have other solutions that we are planning to bring to the table? So that detected the mood of a meeting. So part of the reasons, one of the reasons that the meeting also went into the deadlock was that, they came, so they made some proposals. So the proposals that they made, we looked at them. I will be disposed to say one of them here because it's already in public domain. Space. But the other ones, we'll go to our next meeting today, we'll extray them, then we'll come up with a definite position. So now, when we looked at the issue of the $800 million loan from World Bank, that they are going to send 5,000 naira to each, to 10 million households, and at the end of the day, that from their estimation, that you have about 5 people per home, so you are going to get something about 50 million people. But we queried it. We said, no, you don't have credible database today. That you have been doing conditional cash transfer in the last years. Where are the people that this money goes to? Where is the, have we audited the process? Where is that data? And Nancy, you know clearly that in Nigeria, we have issues with database. That in Nigeria, we have issues with keeping data. So for us, we felt that that is not the way to go. And perhaps you pay 5,000 to these families for 6 months. So after 6 months, what next? That we should think of deeper solutions, not just this kind of approach that is not long-lasting. It's cosmetic.
Cosmetic. Now, when the NNPC, I guess because I saw the NNPC GCEO there with you at the meeting, when he gave you this reason that pricing template advice was to their own filling stations, did you follow up to ask him, that is the startup price, because NNPC is the sole importer right now of crude. So what that means is that you are the sole supplier. Anybody taking from you right now will need to add a profit margin to it. So the NNPC one will be like a startup price. Meanwhile, other retail outlets can now add like 2 naira, 3 or 4, 5 naira. It depends. It will make it more expensive than the retail price. Was there a follow-up question like that? And
yes.
what was the answer?
Yes, because what they said was that was not the price that they sell to the other retail outlets. That price is the price that they will sell to their own retail plus the markup. So that price has already, I mean, the markup is already there. But Nancy, one of the questions and one of the challenges we have also had is that today, you said you want to go about these issues by deregulating the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry. So now we have asked, what is happening to our exchange rate? Because today, you heard yesterday when Daily Trust reported that they have moved the exchange rate to 630 arbitrarily.
But
so
Central Bank came up.
They refuted. That is okay. But what if tomorrow Central Bank now comes and say the exchange rate now is 800 naira? So when that happens, what is again going to happen to the price? Because this product is an internationally priced product. And when you price it in USD, you need to convert to our naira. So there are also issues relating to the exchange rate. So these are all the deeper issues that Labour has said that we must come and discuss. You cannot, I mean, what government is doing is trying to abdicate responsibility by doing a couple of things. One, they said that, okay, they are practically subsidizing the entire West Africa. So the question that we have asked is that, is it the function of the Nigerian workers to go to the borders and use their bare hand to defend the borders? Government, you were voted in to solve problems. So if there are leakages across the borders, you should try and solve them. They have cited the issues regarding the monetary and the fiscal policy pressures that we are facing today, the debt to revenue ratios and all that. We quite understand, but how did we get to this point? Why should we borrow recklessly and spend it for a better part of it on things we cannot identify? And you are not transferring the burden to the masses. So clearly, for us, we must be able to sit down and dissect all this. And again, the government is asking the people to make sacrifice. What are the sacrifices that they have made? The cost of governance today, where are we in that regard?
And I hope you get answers from this. But the question right now is that where do we go from here? Because I also read in the dailies, was it yesterday or today, that NLC, Labour is saying that they are not going to go on strike. Are there options right now? Because it seems that this has now been forced down our throat. Because I don't know if we have that card right now, we can take it on screen. Because what we're able to do on the show, when I was counting how many times we've had fuel price hikes or petrol price hikes, it's been up to 20 times since 1999. Yes, that's it, since President Obasanjo. So it gives you a fair idea of how much, where we started from. We started from 2000, I think. President Obasanjo increased from 20 naira till about 75 naira when he left in 2007. And from then on, it's been astronomical increase. It was only Yaradua that really reduced the price, I think, in June of 2007. So we can quickly run through those cards. The question now for you is that where do we go from here? What is the option right now for Labour? Because I know you're having your NEC meeting today. You would also meet with the federal government on a later date. Yes. What do we expect? What should Nigerians still... It's a difficult... We are just between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Yeah, Nancy, I mean, you are quite apt. We'll be having our NEC meeting today, both TUC and NLC NEC meetings we hold today. Then thereafter, we'll meet the government delegation again on Sunday to continuously chart the way forward. But on the issue of the way forward, where do we go from here? One of the things we've also said in the past was that government, there is the issue of this CNG. If you remember, the former Minister of State for Petroleum kept talking about the gas expansion project, how we are going to bring CNG into virtually every part of the country, how the tools and the equipment to get this done, you know, what they are going to do about it, how they want to convert about 300,000 cars. We have asked them, where are we on this? So CNG is an alternative to petrol because most of internal combustion engines can be converted to CNG at a price that is not that expensive. So, I mean, these are the things that we started discussing since 2020, 2021. But as of today, government has not done anything about it. So for us, that is the clarion call that we have been making. So that is an alternative. So we'll talk about alternative before we'll not talk about palliatives at all.
Okay. Just in 5 seconds, do you know how many liters of fuel we consume? Has the NNPC GMD told you?
But if you listen to the GMD yesterday, he said the figures that are being reported are the evacuation from the depot.
Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. We'll have you back again, perhaps after all the meetings would have been undertaken. Thank you very much for coming on today's show. All right, I've been speaking with the TUC president as well as the Pengerton president, and we've been talking about the fuel subsidy removal, the updates on it. I've been speaking with Festus Osifo. And that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us again next week. Be the best you can be and be that change that you want to see. I am Nancy Naji. Bye now.